Now, there's a moment in every career where you realize that expertise alone isn't enough. You've got the skills, the results, even the experience, but somehow when you speak, the room doesn't quite lean in. And then you watch a senior leader, maybe the CEO, walk in, say a few words, and suddenly the entire atmosphere changes. Now, it's not loud, it's not fast, and it's not even more polished. It's just centered. That's the difference. Now, CEOs don't just talk, they transmit. And what most people don't realize is that you don't need to wait for a title to communicate like a CEO. You can start right now by learning how they think, speak, and show up. Now, a few years ago, I was working with a young leader, smart, articulate, full of ideas. But she had one recurring frustration. Whenever she presented in leadership meetings, her inputs got acknowledged but not remembered. She would say, I don't get it. I prepare well, I speak clearly, but when the CEO repeats the same point later, everyone treats it like new. And I smiled because I had heard this before. I told her, it's not about what you're saying, it's about how you are saying it. So we studied how our CEO communicated. We watched videos, town halls, and even off-site meetings of the CEO. And we noticed three things that completely changed how she communicated after that. First, CEOs speak from altitude. Most professionals speak from the ground, buried in details, updates, and activities. CEOs speak from above, from perspective. They don't just start with what we are doing, they start with why this matters. Because when you operate at that level, you don't just report, you reframe. For example, instead of saying, we increased customer response time by 15%, a CEO might say, we are finally earning back our customer trust. Same fact, different altitude. And that shift from data to meaning is what makes the message memorable. When you speak from altitude, people stop hearing information, they start hearing vision. And second, CEOs simplify complexity. Now, great CEOs know that people can only follow what they understand. They take something complicated and make it sound obvious. Not because it's easy, but because they've thought through deeply about it. They use what I call the executive triangle: context, clarity, conclusion. Context, clarity, conclusion. They set the stage. Here is what is happening. Cut through the noise. Here is what that means. And end decisively. Here is what we are going to do. No jargon, no fillers, no fluff. Because clarity builds trust and trust builds followership. Now, when Shreya started using this style, people began quoting her in meetings not because her ideas were new, but because they were memorable. And third, CEOs project calm authority. Watch any experienced CEO in a high pressure discussion. Everyone else might be tense, but they stay composed, not detached, but centered. And that calmness is contagious. I once heard a CEO say, when I enter the room, I'm not looking to control the energy, I'm looking to steady it. Now, that line stayed with me because real authority isn't about being the loudest voice. It's about being the point of stillness in that noise. You can project the same calm authority no matter your title. It starts with slowing your pace, grounding your voice, and choosing your words with intention. Silence between sentences signals confidence. A measured tone signals control. When you're calm, people believe you're capable even before you prove it. Now, over time, Shreya began practicing these three habits: speaking from altitude, simplifying complexity, and projecting calm authority. Now, a few months later, during a board review, her CEO turned to her after a presentation and said, "Excellent clarity." That's exactly how I would have framed it. Now, that moment didn't just validate her, it transformed her. Because once you start communicating like a leader, people begin treating you like one. Now, you don't need a corner office to sound like a CEO. You need discipline in how you think, empathy in how you speak, and calm in how you show up. Titles don't create gravitas, present does. So the next time you're in a meeting, don't just speak to update, speak to elevate. Ask yourself, am I giving information or am I offering perspective? Am I explaining complexity or creating clarity? Am I reacting to the room or regulating it? Because when you start showing up that way, you stop sounding like an employee and start sounding like a leader. And the best part is that by the time the title comes, you have already mastered the art and science of communication. And that's how you communicate like a CEO, even if you're not one yet. So if you're liking these videos and finding them of value, do share and subscribe to the channel. And yes, please don't forget to comment on what you would like to know more about. Thank you.